It was late. A quiet suburban street. Neatly trimmed lawns, driveways lined with parked cars, houses glowing faintly with porch lights. I was walking home from a friend's place. Midnight, cool air, silence, except for the hum of the streetlights. That's when I saw him. A man, standing perfectly still, under the streetlight, at the far end of the block. He wasn't moving, not shifting, not walking, just standing. I thought maybe he was waiting for a ride, or drunk, or lost. But then, I noticed how his head was tilted, slightly, like he was studying me. My stomach tightened. I slowed down, then sped up, trying not to make it obvious, but when I glanced back, he was closer, not walking, not running, just closer, like the distance between us had evaporated. My chest tightened. I told myself, no, it's just my imagination. Maybe I hadn't judged the distance right. Maybe he was always that close. But deep down, I knew I hadn't been wrong. I picked up my pace. My sneakers scuffed against the pavement, heart pounding louder than my footsteps. Another glance back, and he was there, still under the same streetlight, but somehow closer again, not moving, not walking, just standing, staring. That's when the air shifted. Cold, heavy, like the night itself was holding its breath. I whispered to myself, "Don't run, don't run." But my legs didn't listen. I bolted, straight down the block, past one house, two houses, three. The sound of my breath, sharp, ragged, uneven. The slam of my sneakers, too loud, too desperate. I didn't dare look back, didn't want to. But I felt it, that pressure, that weight, that presence, following, not with footsteps, not with noise, but with something worse, with silence. Finally, my house. Porch light glowing like a beacon. I sprinted across the lawn, keys shaking in my hand. I fumbled, dropped them, cursed under my breath, snatched them off the ground. Shoved the right one into the lock, twisted, slipped inside, slammed the door shut. I pressed my back against it, chest heaving, hands trembling. Silence. Just my breath, and the faint buzz of the fridge in the kitchen. I told myself, it's fine, you're safe, you're home. But something gnawed at me. I forced myself to peek through the window, and there he was, standing under my streetlight now, at the edge of my lawn, still, silent, watching. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him. That tilt of his head, that stillness. The next morning, I told myself it had to be a prank, a neighbor, some creep passing through. But when I left for work, the spot under the streetlight was empty. Just pavement, just silence. For 3 nights, nothing happened. No man, no watching. I started to believe it had been stress. Too much caffeine, not enough sleep. But on the 4th night, I woke to a sound, a faint tapping, like fingernails on glass. I froze, listened, heart hammering in my throat. Tap, 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 coming from the living room window. I crept out of bed, bare feet cold on the hardwood floor, every step creaking, every breath too loud. The window faced the street, and when I peeked through the blinds, he was there, closer, at my window, face pressed to the glass, head tilted, mouth stretched into something that wasn't a smile. I stumbled back, tripped over the edge of the rug, heart exploding in my chest. By the time I scrambled up, the tapping had stopped. I rushed back to the window, pulled the blinds. Empty. No one there. The streetlight buzzed faintly. The lawn was still, but the glass, it had smudges where a face had been. I didn't sleep for days, kept every light on, checked the locks 10 times a night, but he always came back. always standing, always watching. Sometimes at the streetlight, sometimes at the edge of the yard, sometimes it's closer. No footsteps, no words, just silence. And then, he stopped appearing outside. But that was worse, because now, sometimes, I hear him. Not outside, not at the window, but inside, behind me, in the hallway, in the dark corner of the room, never moving, never speaking, just watching, always watching. It was a quiet night. The kind of night when the suburban streets fall into silence, only broken by the hum of distant air conditioners and the occasional bark of a restless dog. I was home alone. My parents were out of town for the weekend, and I had convinced myself I was fine with it. I was 18. I wasn't a kid anymore. I didn't need anyone around to feel safe, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. The house was an average 2-story, sitting on a cul-de-sac where nothing exciting ever happened. My neighbors were families I'd known my whole life, teachers, nurses, middle-aged dads who spent Sundays mowing their lawns. Nothing about this neighborhood screamed danger. But that night, it did. I was in the living room, lights dim, scrolling through my phone when I heard it. A soft crunch. At first, I thought it was nothing. Probably a squirrel, maybe a cat. But the sound came again, louder this time. It was deliberate. Slow footsteps on the grass. I froze. The blinds behind me were half open, and I had this gut-wrenching feeling that if I turned, I'd see something. Someone. I tried to shake it off. Told myself not to be paranoid. Suburbs were safe, right? Then came the tapping. Not on the window. On the glass sliding door at the back of the house. I stood. My legs felt heavy, like I was moving through water. The tapping stopped. I didn't want to look, but I did. Through the glass, just barely illuminated by the motion sensor light, I saw him. A man. Standing perfectly still in my backyard. He wasn't leaning against the glass. He wasn't trying to get in. He was just standing there, watching me. My stomach dropped. I stumbled backward, my phone clutched in my hand. I thought about calling 911, but the rational part of me hesitated. Maybe it was a neighbor? Maybe someone drunk who had the wrong house? But then he tilted his head, slowly, like he was studying me. And that was enough. I dialed 911. My voice shook as I explained there was a man in my backyard. The dispatcher stayed calm, told me to stay inside, lock all doors, and wait. I crept through the house, checking locks, every window, every door. My hands were trembling, my breathing uneven. I peeked through the blinds again. He was closer. I dropped to the floor, crawled away from the window. My heart was racing so fast I thought I'd pass out. Minutes felt like hours as I waited for the police. Finally, headlights cut into the street. Red and blue lights followed. I rushed to the front door, opened it before they could even knock. 2 officers stepped inside, flashlights drawn. We searched the backyard together, but he was gone. The police took my statement, told me it was probably a trespasser, maybe a burglar checking houses. They promised to patrol the neighborhood through the night, but when they left, the silence returned, and I was alone again. I couldn't sleep. I left every light on in the house, sat in the living room, blanket pulled tight around me, watching the window. Hours later, just as my eyelids were growing heavy, I heard it again. That soft crunch of footsteps. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Slowly, I turned my eyes toward the sliding glass door, and there he was, closer than before. His hand was pressed against the glass, leaving a faint smear, his eyes locked with mine through the reflection of the light. And this time he smiled. That's when I realized he wasn't just watching me, he was playing with me, and he wasn't going to stop.